All Elite Wrestling has got wrestling fans excited as it offers hope that there's a true alternative to WWE, one backed by a rich owner and that isn't afraid to invest in hiring top talent. While there's no arguing the success of Double or Nothing, some fans are getting ahead of themselves in proclaiming the inevitable triumph of AEW. Join us now as WrestleLamia looks at some of the challenges AEW needs to overcome in order to succeed. Number 1. The wrestling audience has moved on. At the height of the Monday Night War, both WCW and the WWF were bringing in unbelievable audience numbers. In fact, when Nitro was originally announced, some industry figures argued that pitting the two shows against each other would cannibalize the audience, reducing ratings for both promotions as they went head-to-head. That didn't happen and new fans tuned in, making pro wrestling popular again. In a stunning example of how business trends can be counterintuitive, the opposite happened when the WWF put WCW and ECW out of business. Many believed the WWF's audience for Raw and SmackDown would grow, but that didn't happen as former WCW and ECW fans stopped watching entirely, and even worse, the WWF began losing its core audience. While AEW seems to be going after these lapsed fans, the fact is that many of these fans have moved on from wrestling and have no interest in the product, WWE, AEW, or anyone else. If so, AEW will have to hope that it can lure WWE fans over while it builds a new audience. Number 2. AEW's sports-oriented philosophy. AEW has made it clear that it is not looking to be a copy of the WWE, Impact, or any other promotion for that matter. Clearly, AEW is avoiding producing a sports entertainment-based product, but what exactly is its theme? Judging from interviews with Cody Rhodes, All Elite is looking to adopt a sports-based approach, particularly in the use of analytics, where a wrestler's win-loss is emphasized, as well as tracking what moves lead to the most victories. This follows the trend of professional sports such as baseball, which make heavy use of analyzing possible outcomes based on different scenarios. While this sounds interesting on paper, there's no telling how well it will translate in the worked world of wrestling. This analytics approach may draw in, but it may turn people off as they question the value of analytics in a choreographed show. If the analytics approach fails, AEW could lose its current momentum and be forced to switch to a different style. Number 3. Building an infrastructure. While AEW is claiming that it isn't competing with WWE, the company has to deal with the fact that WWE has been doing this unopposed for nearly 2 decades, and it's built up an impressive infrastructure both in-house and with its touring organization. Consider the words of podcaster Conrad Thompson, who commented on the WWE's dominance during a 2018 interview. Thompson was asked, "Well, it's unlikely to happen. Let's go with a hypothetical where someone decides to throw a pile of money at a national wrestling promotion. What would a promotion have to do to compete with WWE?" Nothing. No one can compete with WWE. They're so far ahead that no one can compete with the WWE. Lots of people can compete for number 2. I think you can compete with New Japan and you could get there inside of 10 years. I think you can compete with Ring of Honor and Impact and get there inside of 5 years. I don't think anyone will ever have the opportunity to be in the same conversation as WWE. They've got such a head start, and it's not even about creative. I know there's a lot of wrestling fans who think it's about talent and it's about creative, and in a perfect world and in a very artistic view, yes, maybe it is. But when you're talking about the way the world runs, which is money, there's just no opportunity. They just have too much money, they have too many relationships. And that's what it comes down to, the relationships they have with distribution, with licensing, just every sort of aspect. They've got such a jump start. You look at the number of social media followers they have, which is a ridiculous amount and which some people see as a silly metric, and I agree to a large degree, but they are so far ahead no one will ever come close to catching them. Thompson raised several valid points. Consider the WWE's deals with arenas, their deals with advertisers, and their finely honed touring team. While the WWE creative side is arguably flawed, its ability to book shows, partner with advertisers, and work the media is second to none in the wrestling industry. While the Elite have shown a knack for merchandising, keeping up with WWE, there are other areas where AEW is not even close. The WWE has an elaborate recruiting, training, and developmental system from which it can produce a seemingly endless number of potential stars, although right now they seem unable to do anything once they create them. In fact, Pro Wrestling Insider's Dave Scherer recently suggested a way WWE can use NXT to compete against AEW. WWE already has a great way to go after AEW in-house in NXT. No matter how great you thought AEW's first pay-per-view was, TakeOver 25 was at least as good. One cost far more money than the other. So yes, if WWE really wants to go after AEW, they could surely use NXT to do so. For instance, doing a takeover against an AEW pay-per-view would give people leery of spending $50 a much cheaper alternative. Number 4. Flexing its muscles. There's no arguing the WWE has grown complacent, even to the extent of burning traditional partners such as Madison Square Garden. The Mecca of pro wrestling hasn't held a WWE pay-per-view in years to go after bigger arenas. This has allowed companies such as Ring of Honor to move in, promoting in traditional WWE arenas. Nonetheless, you can be certain that AEW's presence will lead to the WWE upping its game, using its muscle to edge out the competition. Vince McMahon has never been afraid to throw money around to edge out competitors. Back in the 80s, Vince bought TV time from stations running a rival's product, sometimes paying several times what the station was receiving before. Vince also locked out certain arenas and cities, preventing competitors from running shows in big arenas. The question becomes, what lengths will McMahon go to in order to frustrate and thwart AEW? And how much is AEW owner Khan willing to spend to keep up with McMahon? Number 5. Keeping its TV deal. Fans and industry analysts are still amazed at how AEW's first pay-per-view succeeded without any television show to promote it. While the elite are adept at social media marketing, television is still an important part of any promotion, as it introduces wrestlers, furthers angles, and builds excitement for pay-per-views and any other live events AEW plans to run. While AEW seems to have a core fan base already established, it's unclear how many people will tune into a weekly TV show. AEW scored a great deal with TNT, despite the promotion having little track record, but it will still have to deliver the ratings TNT is looking for to surpass the USA Network, which currently edges out TNT due to the ratings it gets from Raw and SmackDown Live. If AEW's show isn't an audience draw, whatever the reason may be, TNT could cut them loose, leaving the promotion scrambling to find a new home. If AEW fails on a major cable outlet, it's unlikely that any other major cable network will pick them up, and they could find themselves airing on a Z-grade station. Number 6. Selling pay-per-views. Double or Nothing reportedly met AEW's projections, proving a success despite its $49.95 price tag. AEW is wise in only running 4 pay-per-views a year, allowing them to grow their audience and build anticipation for each event. While Double or Nothing can be called a success, AEW's executives have to be wondering whether their fans will fork over $49.95 for the shows once the novelty has worn off. Number 7. The Inmates take over the Asylum. All Elite Wrestling has several executive vice presidents who also happen to be the company's top stars, figures such as the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Cody Rhodes. Some fans are already questioning whether AEW's wrestlers can keep from booking themselves at the top at the expense of the entire company. It's far too early to tell, but it is a legitimate concern as anyone familiar with what's happened when wrestlers serve as bookers. During the 1980s, Dusty Rhodes booked Jim Crockett Promotions, with the company revolving around him as its major babyface, something which initially worked but eventually turned off the fans. In the late 1990s, Kevin Nash booked WCW while wrestling there, with some fans still pointing to Nash's booking as one of the reasons for WCW's demise. The flip side of this concern is that AEW will benefit from having people on the creative side who are familiar with professional wrestling, as opposed to the WWE, whose creative department often has no background in wrestling. Number 8. Keeping out the flakes. All Elite Wrestling already has a solid core of talent, but as the case of Pac, better known to WWE fans as Neville, shows, the company needs to be prudent as to whom they bring in. Pac is a talented wrestler, but his refusal to allow AEW's proposed booking for him led to a major change for Double or Nothing's card. Pac's troubles in the WWE should have given them some idea of what to expect, but the company chose to ignore his past behavior, leading to AEW having to cancel the much-anticipated Hangman Adam Page vs. Pac match at Double or Nothing. There are a number of talented free agents on the market, but in some cases, there's a reason why they're free agents. They're prima donnas with a history of aggravating the companies they've worked for. Number 9. Overexpansion. All Elite Wrestling could be a game-changer in professional wrestling, and it's already started a bidding war, with WWE throwing big-money contracts at its wrestlers to stay with the company. Based on backstage gossip, it's clear that disgruntled WWE stars see AEW as a place to make a living and work in a better-run company. While anything seems to be better than WWE, wrestlers considering a jump should remember the adage that the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. That shouldn't mean AEW becomes a haven for every wrestler looking for a change of scenery. AEW's billionaire backer Shahid Khan has already landed top talent with high-priced contracts, but he shouldn't follow WCW's path of having hundreds of wrestlers signed to the company that never wrestle. While that's unlikely to happen, one thing that could quickly destroy the company would be expanding too soon, whether it's a touring schedule, added pay-per-views, or added television time. AEW president Tony Khan is already known for being familiar with wrestling history, so fans should hope he doesn't find himself in the position of having to produce added content, overextending his talent, and possibly oversaturating the market. Well guys, there you have it, problems that AEW will likely have to deal with. Keep in mind, WrestleLamia wants AEW to be a smash success, but nothing is certain in life but death, taxes, and ridiculous comments from Vince Russo.